channel. So I know I'm like a year late for this palette, but obviously I picked it up recently when I bought the Lovers palette from Cosmic Beauty. And a few of you said you wanted to see some looks with this. So I have done 3 different looks. I will just warn you, the first look, I didn't really feel like talking to the camera. I was watching something, and so I just have a voiceover and some music. So the rest of them I'm talking, and I'm talking about the colors and everything whatnot. So yeah, I've done 3 different looks. Obviously go check it out, and then I will come back with my final thoughts. I do have some opinion about this, and I kind of speak about it in my 3rd look, which was of course today. But yeah, let's just roll the video and I will see you soon.
All right, so here I go. I'm doing, obviously I used the Beauty Bay base, and then I went into Chic, which is in my Pan Those eyeshadows. I wasn't going to do this as a voiceover, but here we are. Then I went into Touch, just to test it out, very neutral brown. Then we went into Gentle, which is this kind of grungy green. Yeah, I was listening to something on YouTube and I just did not want to speak. I'm going to go into Luxe, which I actually didn't realize was a duochrome until I swatched it. This is really pretty. It's a very, very pretty shade. It has some orange base to it, and then it obviously sparkles green. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Wasn't really sure what I was doing, but I was just playing around. And then we went into Radiant. I didn't realize this was going to be so orange. So I'm actually laying it down right over my lid where there's like no matte shade there. It's pretty, but I thought it'd be a little bit brighter and not so orange. And then we went into Lust. And yeah, just deepen it out a little bit. I did like this look. It's a nice little start to my little adventure figuring out this palette. And I didn't swatch anything, so yeah, there's the final look. Pretty simple, but pretty.
Alright, let's go into our 2nd look. So I rolled in this shade on my Pan Those eyeshadows. I'm definitely going to start with this one. I have no plans for today. I have no idea what I'm going to do for today's look. We're just going to wing it as always. It's been about a week and a bit, maybe 2 weeks actually, since I did my first look with this palette. So I don't even remember what I did. All right, so I think I'm just gonna use this whole row right here because I don't think I used these 2 or Satin in my first look. So let's do that. I'm gonna go into Bare right here. I am back at work today, so I need to do somewhat of a neutral look. All right, then we're gonna go into Nudetrals. I think I'm gonna go into Desire, which looks really pretty. Oh yes, this is one of their like duochromes. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it kind of flips. It's like orange with some green. That's a really pretty shade. Honestly, you could just put that all over your lids and I think you'd be fine. I think I'm gonna go into a Satin in the inner corner, and I think that's it. Just kind of changed it a little bit. I think I liked it before, but it's subdued it a tiny bit, right? I think I'm gonna go into a Classy and just deepen out my outer corner just a little bit more. Put a little bit more of that right in the middle. I feel like I lost it. Ooh, yeah. Oh, that's pretty. I like mixing shades like this. All right, I think that's all I'm gonna do for my eyes since I am working. I don't want to go too crazy, but I think it shows that you can really use this palette for like just your everyday look, but still use like a duochrome, and it doesn't look too off-putting, scary, dare I say. I think it's still relatively pretty. All right, popped on some lip. I think for the next look, I'll try to be a little bit more adventurous. We're gonna go adventurous. Is that what Past Gabby said? Let's figure out what we're gonna do. I guess we have to go purples because I haven't touched any of the purples. So maybe we do purples and then we go into also this one again, because I think this one would work really well with some of these purples. So, but then also there's like mustard, like a whole mustard area that I haven't tried yet. So, oh gosh, what do I do? What do I do? I think we do purples, mustards, purples and mustards. I think that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, okay, I got it. So we're gonna go into that Chic shade because obviously pan those eyeshadows. So we're just gonna start with that one. This is, I mean, I'm gonna sound really stupid here because obviously the palette is called Nudetrals, but this is a very neutral palette. I wouldn't even say it's neutral with a twist. I mean, obviously you do have these kind of like special shades and you have a little bit of purple in here too. But for me personally, I think that's perfect for a neutral palette. It's not even neutral with a twist. It's just, I think you need a variety when you're going neutral. Neutral doesn't always have to mean brown. And I do think there is a lot of brown in this palette. So is it my favorite palette? Probably not, but I do enjoy it. I think I'm preferring it to the Muse at the moment, but only because I've always found the Muse to be a little bit too dark, whereas this one does have some lighter tones and then it has like the contrasting tones as well. So anyway, we're going to go into the shade down here, which is called Rumor. So let me know, have you tried this palette? What were your thoughts on it? I was not interested in the other nude palette that came out, obviously, which was the Cooltrodes, because it's all blue and I simply have just like too much blue in my collection. I have been wearing quite a lot of blue recently, but I'm not at the point that I want to expand my blue palette collection. And I think it was just a little too dark and blue for my liking. But definitely when this one came out, I was all for it. And I was kind of envious of everyone who bought it because obviously it came out like a year ago now. So we're going into that. Then we're going to go into, I think I want to go into Icon, which is this one here. So maybe you let me know if you have tried Cosmic Beauty. What's your favorite Cosmic Beauty palette so far? I still think that the Delicious Delights is my favorite. It just seems to be the most fun, but I also think Serenity is also quite unique. And that one has some blue in it. It has like green, it has some purple. It's kind of all over the place, that one. But yeah, I do think those two are probably still my favorite just because they're a little bit more interesting, but the formula has really been pretty and I haven't really spotted any issues with the formula with this palette or even the Lovers palette, which I did test out a little bit. Although I feel like I know this one a little bit more than the Lovers at this point. Right? I feel like, I don't know, I guess because I only did 2 licks with that one. Did I only do 2 licks? I think I only did 2 licks. Okay, then we're going to go into a Lust, which is this, you know, deep purpley shade. I think I've already been in this one, yeah. But we're going to put it here. As always, I definitely need to wash my brushes. I'm at the point now where it's getting a little bit scary and I need to, I feel like I just washed them, but it was a couple months ago now. So I do have a lot where I do actually have some where I still have not yet to use, but all of my favorite ones I've used quite a bit. So I need to get those washed for sure. So yeah, my thinking is we're gonna do this and then I'm gonna go into this shade of Velvet because I haven't tried that one. And then I also want to go into Tender. So maybe I'll go into Tender, the outer corner, and then Velvet more in the middle of the lid, and then try to figure out what I want to do with this one because I think that would be fun to have that in. So yeah, we're being a little bit more adventurous, but we're still trying to keep it in line with the theme of like an everyday wearable look. You know, like, can we wear this palette? Is this really like a cool tone palette? Like, not a cool tone, a neutrals palette where you really could just wear it any day of the week. So I'm going into Tender, which I think you can. It really just depends on what your preferences are. This is a really, really dark shade. This is not a shade that I typically enjoy. It has a really dark base and Yeah, I'm just going to put a little bit on because it's not a color that I enjoy. I have to admit, I really don't like shades like this. I think they're too dark. And I think the purple gets lost because the base is so dark. So that's my feeling. I would say let me know if you want me to rank my Cosmic Beauty palettes, but I will be doing a palette ranking very, very soon of all the palettes in my collection. And obviously you'll figure out there which ones rank higher than others. So I'm going to put this one now, which is called Velvet, on the lid. And again, I haven't really swatched these, so this is just me figuring out the palette as I go. I really don't want to lose this mustard, so I'm only doing it a little bit on the lid, not the full lid, because I want that mustard to be creeping around the top, if that makes sense. This one again is pretty dark. It's a pretty dark shimmer, but at least it's not, like the base of it is not completely black, which I like. But yeah, those two are kind of dark. You know, for a whole row, for it to be a purple row, it is actually quite a dark row. So I would really expect to use this row in conjunction maybe with the first one. And then honestly, this shade over here, which I used in the first look, it's called Radiant. It really flips orange. So it really can go with these over here, which is kind of interesting. So you look at it and you think, well, that might work with everything, but it definitely had like flips more orange, which honestly, it could look really nice here. But I think I'm going to go into the green because why not? And this one's called Luxe. So I did go into this, the first one. I just think this is really pretty. And I was wondering what it would look like with this purple, but I thought this purple would be a little bit brighter. So we're going to put this green here. And it kind of sort of to blend into the purple. I have to say, I don't find this palette to be very versatile. And yeah, it's just a neutral palette. So what would you expect? But because they have all of these special shades, I thought it would be a little bit more versatile. But I am finding that the looks kind of look the same. You know what I mean? It would be nice to be able to do like a completely different type of look, which, you know, I did with this one. It was a little bit more of a burnt orange look in my second look, and I do enjoy that. But in the grand scheme of things, like this green, like has a lot of orange to it because it has an orange base. So it all is kind of the same. I'm gonna go back into this Icon shade and I just want this to kind of seep around the edges because I do think that's a pretty shade. So I don't know, maybe I'll take it back. I don't know if I prefer this to the Lovers, because the Lovers is probably a little bit more unique, but then I've only done 2 looks, so I don't know, maybe I haven't given it enough time. I'm not saying I don't like this. I just always find, this is what happened with the Muse palette from Cosmic Beauty. I love the color story, but when I actually used the palette, I was a little underwhelmed. And I'm feeling a little underwhelmed right now because 3 looks, you would kind of want them to be different from each other. And I do feel like it's very similar to the first look. And I've used different shades, but I've got the same kind of look. Like it's the same, it's not the same, but it's similar. It's a similar look, right? So it's pretty. It's a pretty palette. I mean, I think the quality in this is really pretty. I think it's slightly better quality than maybe the Serenity. I think they have improved their quality slightly, or I don't know. Maybe that's just me thinking that, but maybe it's exactly the same. I mean, a part of me feels like going into this, but then it's just going to be the first look all over again. So maybe I'll just leave it as that. I don't know. I do kind of feel underwhelmed. Obviously, I could go into this one, but do I need to? I don't think I need to. Maybe under here a little bit. So this one's called Glitz. This is True Gold, like a bronzy gold. Very pretty. It is pretty. I mean, all the shades are pretty, but they're all very, even though there are duochromes in here, I just feel like it's all kind of one-dimensional. Am I being ultra picky? I'm not dissing on this palette at all, But I think my expectations of it were a little bit higher than what I'm getting right now. Okay, I think for inner corner, I'm gonna go into Glamorous. I think it's gonna be a little too dark, but I'm gonna try it. I don't think I've used this one on a look yet, so it is quite pretty. So I'm hoping the base isn't too dark, because a lot of their shimmers have a dark base. Yeah, see, this was, you know what it is? I think they need a topper. They need more shimmers in their palette that are more like topper shades, because they all have pretty dark bases, and I think it's fine most of the time, but if you're trying to do inner corner like I am, it looks a little dark. And I do not suit dark inner corner. I mean, who does? We want some brightness here. All right, what do we think about this look and my thoughts? I mean, I haven't really blended anything, but I've kind of wanted to keep it pretty minimal and just on the lids. I mean, it's, okay, it's pretty. It's pretty, but is it pretty? But I don't know how to make a very interesting look out of this palette. But anyway, here is the final look of the number 3. All right, so those are my 3 looks with this palette. What do we think of the palette? I think that it probably could have been condensed down, and maybe, you know, all of their palettes are this size, aside from maybe 1 or 2, which I don't own, but their standard palettes are usually this size, right? I think this palette probably could have been smaller, more condensed, and I think it would have been a little bit more interesting and stand out a little bit more. There's quite a few browns in here, which all kind of do the same thing for me. And I don't quite feel like we need all of them. I don't feel like we need a black. I don't feel like we need this Lush shade because it's very, very dark. We also don't even need this delicate shade, which I did not go into, but all 3 of these kind of serve the same purpose for me. You also don't really need the black because a lot of these shimmers have very, very dark bases to them. So usually if you're going to use a black, it's because you have a shimmery topper shade and you can, or the beautiful duochrome that you lay on over it, which you can obviously do with Radiant or maybe some of these other ones that are a little bit lighter. They're not all duochromes, but these shimmers down here all have very dark bases. This is really pretty. This is a duochrome. Again, it's got a more of like your burnt orange, and it shifts a little bit green, but the green is not super noticeable. I think this one is very noticeable, and it's very, very orange. So this is actually a very warm tone nude palette. I think if you're going to do a nude palette, it shouldn't be super, super warm. There are cool tones in here, but I think overall it's an incredibly warm palette is what I've realized. I'm not saying that to complain because I think it's beautiful. I think the shimmers are beautiful. The formula is beautiful. I liked all 3 looks, but I was saying just in my recent one, like the last look, I do feel like it lacks variety. You can do a nude palette, but also make it a little bit more interesting. And this is what this is obviously trying to do. And I think for a lot of people, this does do that. But I think for me, a lot of them could be replaced with something different and still keep it nude and interesting. Maybe it's just the palette is too big, because also these browns, I don't feel like I need all of them. And why do we need these 2 shades here? They're all quite samey. I think the shimmers are stunning. I think this is a gorgeous matte. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the actual shades in the palette. I didn't spot any duds. I think I used every single shade aside from Tease and Delicate. Everything else I've used, which is pretty cool. But like even this one and this one, I don't feel like you need both of them, because these are not similar, but do you need both of them? I don't know. One is like very like a rusty pure orange. One of them is like a gold, a yellowy gold. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you don't really need both of them, but that's just me. That's just me. I don't know. And these purples I think down here are pretty dark, so I don't know. I don't know about this palette because as I was using it, I was enjoying it. And then when I came to the third look, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be adventurous. And then I ended up doing this look because I can't figure out what I'm supposed to do with this palette. I don't think it is that type of palette, and that's absolutely fine. Like if it's not that type of palette, it's not that type of palette, and it's a neutrals, it's nude palette with a twist basically. But I do have neutral palettes with a twist that I think have a better twist than this one. I think that's where I'm coming from. But if you don't and you love nudes and you want to spice up your everyday looks, this is stunning. It's beautiful. I can't fault it for that, but I think just comparing it to what I have in my collection, does it stand out? Not quite so much, and not as much as I was hoping it would, which is kind of where I'm like, a little bit disappointed, but it's not the palette's fault. It's probably my fault because I have too many palettes, so that's probably where I'm coming from. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Cosmic Beauty Neutrals. I think it's pretty, but as I said, do I need it? I probably did not need it, and you know, I did a good job of not having it for a whole year, but then I caved and I bought it, and did I need it? Probably not, but I have it now and I will enjoy it. I will be using it. It's just, you know, it is what it is. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching if you did, and I will see you all next time. Bye.